You know, very few senators want to be asked a question, why'd you say some stupid thing back in 1985? But we violate this rule all the time by asking you what you did a long time ago. So I'm going to start with Judge Rubin. Not so long ago, though. You co-hosted radio show, Midday on the Law. Your show discussed current events. In 2012, your show talked about Baltimore City ordinance. This ordinance required pregnancy centers to post signs saying that they didn't provide abortions and they didn't provide birth control. In your radio show, you suggested the pregnancy center was engaged in commercial speech, and you suggested that the center's speech could be regulated because it was commercial speech. Now, the Fourth Circuit concluded that the pregnancy clinic was not engaged in commercial speech. The circuit wrote, quote, a morally and religiously motivated offering of free services cannot be described as bare commercial transaction, end of quote. So please explain for us why you thought that the pregnancy centers giving free services based on moral and religious convictions were engaged in commercial speech.
Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you, Ranking Member Grassley, for that question. For the last 9 years, almost a decade, I have committed myself to one thing and one thing only, and that is the rule of law. My job as a circuit court judge in the busiest docket in the state of Maryland is to consider very closely the evidence in the record and to apply the law to that evidence in whatever case is before me. My participation in public radio for legal, educational, and discourse purposes, in some instances more than a decade ago, was in my capacity as a private citizen, as a private attorney, and I have left that at the door some time ago. On candor, I don't recall making the comments that you've recited, but I trust that your recitation is accurate. However, my job at this point is solely to deal with the case in front of me and not to issue public discourse.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go to Professor Traum. You have written and spoken a lot about criminal justice reform. That's something that Senator Durbin and I are very interested in. I want to ask you about an article you published 2013, Mass Incarceration at Sentencing. Your article argued that federal judges should address mass incarceration at sentencing. The article also argues that district judges should, quote, individualize punishment in light of broad systemic concerns, end of quote, at the sentencing phase. Do you plan to implement your article's ideas when you become a district judge? And how do you see this playing out in an individual case?
Thank you for that question, Ranking Member Grassley. The article you reference, I wrote when, as a law professor, as you mentioned some time ago. And as a law professor, my job is to study the law and share in published articles, various proposals and descriptions about the law. I understand that the role of a judge is different, and the role of a judge at sentencing is very specific because it is framed by the statute that Congress created, 18 U.S.C. 3553A. So if confirmed, I would be following the statute, working my way through the enumerated factors that the statute lists that a judge is supposed to consider at sentencing. And it is a highly individualized determination based on the individual who is being sentenced and the relevant facts pertaining to that individual. So that is what I would do if confirmed.
Okay, Judge Silva, before law school, you worked for a Planned Parenthood affiliate that was known as Association for Reproductive Health Professionals. After law school, you spent your legal career as a prosecutor. I have two questions for you. First, can you please describe your role at that organization? And second, could you explain what caused you to change your career plans? What I didn't read ahead of your question was that you said as a very young person, I should have started out this way. You said as a teenager, you'd never be a prosecutor.
I don't remember making that statement, though I didn't think I would be a prosecutor. I'll start with the first question. I did work for the Association of Reproductive Health Professionals. It was my first job out of undergrad. I worked there for approximately a year doing fundraising work for them. And then I knew, though, however, I wanted to go to law school. I transitioned to becoming a litigator in law school. I had a professor that told me during the course of a civil practice clinic that I was good on my feet and I should consider becoming a litigator. And that really opened the door to me exploring that as a career path. And I'm truly grateful for that advice and the path that it led me on to be here today.
Yeah. I'll probably have written questions for all of you as well, but my time's up. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Grassley.